Welcome to today's edition of the Unfiltered Podcast, Ernest Unfiltered Podcast. I'm your host, Ernest EJ Christian. We're doing an audio version today, and it's very possible we may keep it going forward this way. I find the audio version right at this point right now a lot more, or should I say a lot more, that's not really actually a correct phrase. It's a lot easier to check in and do the show without the video aspect as always all the time. Now, I'm not going to abandon the video aspect of the show because obviously it will come in handy once in a while. On Periscope, and whatnot, and on YouTube. But the show will be on YouTube still, but it'll be the audio version of the show. But it is a lot easier for me to sometimes just check in, especially when if I want to use sound clips too, which I won't use today necessarily, but I do like to use sound clips on the shows once in a while too also, and you can't do that with the Periscope. But it's a lot easier to check in 10-15 minutes here a day just to see my thoughts on the show, on the show, what's going on around the world of sports, pop culture, all that. And again, like the reason why I brought back this podcast was very simple, because even though the plan originally this year, when I first started 2019 off on the right foot, the plan was to be more efficient. The problem is if I start doing shorter shows on the other feed, on the main Ernest Speaking Podcast feed, the thing was that I believe it got more cluttered. There's a lot more material. The material on the Ernest Speaking Podcast is a lot more evergreen. In other words, it's material that in a lot of ways could be useful, weeks down the road, months down the road, whatnot. Whereas the material on this show, on the Unfiltered show, is pretty much in the now. It's pretty much reactionary. It's hot takes, reactionary, and all that. So it did make sense to go back to this format again. And I started doing a couple of shows in April with the Periscope only, and obviously it wasn't a problem, but I started noticing that I took less time doing it because of time. And only that, I wasn't able to do a video show. It was hard to do a video show at home as often because of my my home life here with my kids and whatnot and other responsibilities. But I could check it and do an audio show, and I can even do the show even on mobile, which is great too. So that's what's going on here. So we're probably going to keep this audio version of the Unfiltered Podcast for a while, although. Just to clarify real quick, we're not going to abandon the video necessarily either. So, okay. So, quickly, because obviously this is a quick 10-15 minute podcast we do every day. The Toronto Raptors clinched their first finals berth in NBA history. And, I mean, what a series. I mean, down 0-2. And look, down 0-2, and probably could have lost Game 3 also, too. It took double overtime to beat Milwaukee. And if you follow, what I was saying throughout the series on social media, on the podcast, what I do and all that, I picked Milwaukee in the series, and even when Toronto won Game 3, I said, well, based on how Game 3 played out, there's no question that Milwaukee should win the series, win Game 4, and close on Game 5. And Toronto used Game 3, the double overtime win, as a bounce, and they won 4 straight games. I mean, it is impressive of a turnaround of a series I've seen in a very long time. And especially when you consider Milwaukee having the best record in the league. And it also goes to show you that sometimes we jump too far to conclusions. And I get that. And it's insane how Toronto, as the series went on, just gained more and more confidence and figured out a way to play Giannis Antetokounmpo throughout the series. And Milwaukee be on a swords. Now, Milwaukee had chances to win this game. Milwaukee had chances to win Game 5, and both games they held double-digit leads in the second half of the game and could hold on. So it's not that Milwaukee was not the better team. I can still argue the Milwaukee Bucks were the better team, but they just couldn't hold the fort down. And it goes now to the next argument here about Kawhi Leonard, because Kawhi Leonard has been incredible in these playoffs, and especially in this series. And it's something I posted on social media yesterday, which got a lot of traction, and I have to talk about here now on this podcast. Are we sure Kawhi Leonard is not the best player in the NBA right now in this moment? Because think about it. Because the easy answer will say, well, LeBron, and even had about a bad year with the Lakers. Individually, LeBron's the best player in the league, and okay, you can make a case there. Except LeBron doesn't play defense anymore, and anybody that tries to defend that is just being a homer. Sorry, LeBron does not play defense anymore. You have Kevin Durant. It's a case you make Kevin Durant. But I guess, again, you can, if you're one of those people that believe the asterisk applies to Kevin Durant, because he's playing on the Golden State Warriors, a dynastic team, then that certainly hurts his case. Although Kevin Durant is a phenomenal player, and I will still say maybe lean Kevin Durant to some degree. Maybe, I don't know. Another guy I would consider Steph Curry. I mean, Steph Curry, since Durant's been gone, since Game 5 of the Houston series, has been flat out incredible. And what the example I used to determine this was take off Kawhi Leonard off this Toronto team. But this is a good Toronto team, but to me, they were never a great team with DeMar DeRozan. I mean, they were a good team that they had a ceiling. The ceiling was probably the conference finals, which they did 3 years ago before losing LeBron in the Cavaliers. You take Kawhi Leonard off this Raptors team right now, this roster right now, and insert how many players can you insert outside Kawhi Leonard into this team and have the same result? I would say maybe 2, possibly 3 other players can do this. Certainly LeBron James, I would say, could still do this even at this point in his career. Even with him not playing defense. I think he could. I think when LeBron wants to, he can in moments' notice. Kevin Durant obviously is another guy I would consider. And I think even Steph Curry has a case. I'm not entirely sure Steph Curry can do it, but Steph Curry would be the only other guy I could put in the fringe. Because I'll tell you right now, James Harden couldn't do it. All right, Russell Westbrook couldn't do it. Paul George couldn't do it. I don't even think Joel Embiid could do it. I think there's literally only 3, maybe 4 guys in the league. 3 guys really in the league outside Kawhi Leonard that could do what he did, and Kawhi Leonard did it. And again, this kills the idea now of Kawhi Leonard. Is he a system player? Remember San Antonio? Oh, he's really, really good, but he's playing with Pop and Duncan and those guys. That's dead now. Like, you sound very foolish if you're saying that Kawhi Leonard is now a system player still, because you sound like you just sound very foolish. So the case could be made for Kawhi Leonard being the best player in the league right now because he's the best two-way player. Well, if he's the best two-way player in the league, isn't that quantifying you saying that he's the best player? Because if you do both jobs well at the very top of the heap, then that would qualify you to be the best player in the league, wouldn't it? So that would be arguable, definitely arguable that he's the best player in the league. Now, before we close the chapter on these conference finals, for the Milwaukee Bucks, and what's next for the Milwaukee Bucks? A great year, obviously. As I predicted that they surpassed my predictions. I thought they'd be a top 3 team in the East. I said with Coach Budenholzer in the fold, they will definitely add to that team, in wins total, and they had the best record in the league this year. They couldn't close it out, but their future's bright, obviously. Now, depending on how everything plays on free agency, if Kawhi stays or doesn't stay in Toronto, Kyrie Irving leaves, stays in Boston. Philadelphia has a lot of decisions to make. Milwaukee right now in this moment is the best. Right now it has the best chance of getting back here and possibly the finals next year, based on the possibilities of the elements that can happen in the next couple months in free agency. Kawhi Leonard can go out west. That makes Toronto worse. Milwaukee's better than Toronto if Kawhi goes out west. If Kyrie Irving goes to New York or goes to say another team out west, maybe the Lakers, whatever, Milwaukee's better than Boston. Okay, Philadelphia they have Jimmy Butler, who's a free agent, Tobias Harris, a free agent. If either of those guys or both guys decide to leave, I think Milwaukee's better than Milwaukee. But Milwaukee's better than Philadelphia. So Milwaukee right now, despite this loss, are in a very good position, and I think Giannis will get better. Like, he was exposed a lot in the series, especially in the last couple games in the series. Whether it was the free throw shooting, whether it was shooting the ball, mid-range jump shots, all that, he was exposed to some degree. But there are levels to this, though. Like, we've never seen guys go from first round exits to the finals in 1 year. That doesn't happen in the NBA. There's tiers to this. There's levels to this. Michael Jordan took him a while to get to that point. Very few players get from point A to point B like that. It takes time. I mean, a few players have done this. Very few players in the league have done that, and they were in special situations to do so. I don't worry about Giannis going forward, because Giannis seems like a really great guy. Seems like a really focused dude. Like, he wants to get better. Like, he loves the game of basketball. He comes as a guy that really cares about what he does for the game of basketball. So Giannis has the guts to move forward. I think Giannis has the guts to move forward and be the guy. And I think he'll get better as the time goes on. So I have no qualms about saying Giannis and the Bucks could be in the finals next year. Like, right now, depending on how things play out in the free agency for the other teams on top of the East, I think the Milwaukee Bucks are in a really good position right now. Maybe some tweaks to be made here and there on this roster, but I think overall the Bucks are in a very good situation moving forward for the next year or two. Predictions for the finals for me right now. It's early, obviously, but I'm assuming if Durant doesn't play the series, this could be a very, very good series. This can go 6-7 games. I'm going to say right now in a nutshell, because I don't know Durant's, his prognosis right now for the series. He'll probably miss game one, most likely. I think the Golden State will keep him as long as possible until they need him. Crack reversing glass in case necessary. Bring in Durant if they need him. I'm leaning Warriors in 6. But if I gotta be honest with you, I'm not comfortable doubting Toronto right now because they are gaining more confidence. Kawhi is playing absolutely out of his mind. The roster is playing much better now. Kyle Lowry, who I've been saying for years has been one of the most inconsistent all-stars in recent memory, had played very well against Milwaukee. He's been playing much better basketball in the last couple of weeks. He has to continue doing that in this series, obviously. Serge Ibaka played better in the series. Siakam played better in the series. I have a hard time doubting Toronto. It would not surprise me if Toronto pushes game in 7 games and win the series. And further no, the Raptors do have home court advantage in the series too. So this is the first time we're seeing the Warriors, actually, the Golden State Warriors, not have home court advantage in the finals. So we'll see if that dynamic actually affects the entire series going forward. Before I go, let's say shout out, but thoughts and prayers with Bart Starr and his family. Bart Starr, of course, is the legendary quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, Super Bowl quarterback the Packers to the first 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl 1 and 2. He passed away at age 85 yesterday. I don't want to start ranking quarterbacks all time. Packers quarterbacks. Between Rodgers and Favre and Starr, because I don't think it's appropriate right now in this time. And also, I think it's unfair when you consider the era that Bart Starr played in. I mean, certainly the game's changed, but Bart Starr was one of the all-time greats, definitely. But he passed away yesterday at age 85. He had a lot of health problems in the last couple of years, so we knew, anybody that follows the NFL and follow the Bart Starr situation, we knew that this was definitely something that was going to happen at some point in the next couple of years or so. He had made some appearances publicly in the last couple of years, and he didn't look very well. He has a couple of health issues recently too on top of that. So again, the thoughts and prayers going to Bart Starr and his family. We're gonna miss him, obviously. That's it for today's show. We'll try to get in tomorrow as well. You can follow me on Twitter at EJChristian7. Follow the blogs, of course, too, at earnestspeaking.net, Ernest Speaking Media. As you guys heard, if you heard Ernest Speaking podcast last week, we announced 2 new podcasts dropping this coming summer. One is actually going to be dropping starting next week, actually. It's a wrestling podcast where we're recapping the biggest wrestling events in history. It's kind of like a recapables kind of thing, where we actually recorded our first episode last week, which will be dropping, if not the end of this week, then certainly early next week, King of the Ring 1996. We're actually recording our second episode this week, too, so we'll have stuff after the shoot, out the gate. King of the Ring 1993 also will be the next one we're recording as well. So, anyway, we're done. We'll catch up with you guys next pod, and until then, love you guys, take care, and see ya.